Hi everyone, it's Skinner. In the last video, I told you the collected data and various attempts I've made to cure the disease. In this video, I'll tell you about the cause and mechanism of this disease in earnest based on this accumulated knowledge. Actually, I gave you some hints at the end of the last video. You should get some hints from this diabetes. In other words, the primary cause. The first cause is blood. After all, the same goes for seborrheic dermatitis. Atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, facial flushing, etc. reveal different results, but I think the causes for them are similar. I was convinced after the fast for a day, so I have the amount of rice that I had eaten much more than others. That alone made it better every day, both redness and itchiness. And I immediately checked to see if it really worked. The check here means opening my mouth wide, like this. Because my main affected area is around the mouth, if I open my mouth wide, by the physical stimulus, it turns intense red and it takes quite a while for it to settle down again. However, after reducing the rice eating, that is carbohydrates in half, the redness itself was weakened a lot, and it returned to its original state much faster in the mouth opening check. So eventually, the basic principles is similar to diabetes. In short, blood is the problem, and blood sugar and blood clots are the problem. When you eat a lot of carbohydrates, blood sugar rises and your blood becomes sweet and sticky, clogging blood vessels, causing inflammation, and destroying blood vessels. Especially, microscopic blood vessels are destroyed first. It's fine and thin, so it's no wonder that it gets clogged up by sticky blood easily. In addition, high blood sugar increases moisture loss, making the skin dry and susceptible to infection. And it also causes itching. But this doesn't mean that blood sugar causes inflammation all the time. But people who have weak skin, like me, have inflammation in that weak area. Maybe your skin won't get bad right away by blood sugar. It won't be noticeable for a while until you can see full effect on your skin. Also, some people have strong skin and blood vessels and better circulation. So for the people like them, being under the same conditions may not mean the disease. But for the people who have a weak constitution for these blood-related things, or who have collected conditions to develop the disease in earnest for a long time, or who met some trigger to develop the disease, like wrong procedure like me, or serious allergic reactions which destroy skin barrier, these kind of causes or things, I think, trigger the diseases. As I mentioned in the previous video, diabetic patients are susceptible to various skin diseases due to blood sugar and blood clots. Please try searching the internet yourself. Then you can find many data and articles that atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, facial flushing, etc. are closely related to diabetes. For example, the incidence of psoriasis in diabetic patients is nearly twice that of normal people, or people with psoriasis are more likely to develop diabetes. And it's gestational diabetes that is particularly striking. In gestational diabetes, people who are normally healthy temporarily develops diabetes during pregnancy. You can find videos and articles on the internet that some people during this pregnancy suddenly has seborrheic dermatitis around the mouth. There's also articles saying that pregnant women are vulnerable to atopic dermatitis, so they sometimes get atopic dermatitis newly, and those who have already become worse. People who are fine had temporary diabetes during pregnancy, and at the moment, they suddenly got seborrheic dermatitis and atopic dermatitis. It can't be a coincidence. Personally, I define these diseases as a kind of rotting flesh. In other words, by eating sweets, if the teeth are rotten, they're called cavities. And if the flesh is rotten, it is called atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, etc. And if the pancreas is damaged, so blood sugar cannot be controlled, it is called diabetes. But these intractable skin diseases are different from rotting teeth, and it isn't decay of the flesh of the dead body. but they are decaying but still alive at the same time, so it seems that the inflammation continues to occur. If so, will it be cured if only the first cause is resolved? No. That's why it is difficult. The skin is strong enough before the diseases begin, although blood sugar can affect it a little, so it can hold out without happening anything right away. However, once this damage is accumulated and the skin is destroyed, from that point, the first cause is not the only problem. Because the skin is now weak and the skin barrier has collapsed, even if the first cause is removed, other factors are now problems. For example, too dry, too cold, too hot weather, or spicy food, hot food, physical stimuli, etc. All these factors that can affect skin directly become causes. That is to say, the weakened skin itself is the second cause. But what if I apply lotion? For me, it was irritated by the alcohol substance, so it turned it red so couldn't apply. But if I don't, this time dry is a problem. Then just applying water? Quickly evaporated. Okay, so I'll tell you about my self-developed lotion in another video. Anyway, the first cause is blood, and when it's accumulated, it results in skin diseases. However, once the skin diseases take place, the skin diseases themselves become the cause again from then on. In other words, because it is weakened skin, the skin's vulnerability itself becomes a problem. The result that is from the first cause, and that is inflammation of the skin and weakening of the skin barrier, now becomes the causes of the second stage. So these inflammation and the weakened skin barrier become the causes, and return to feedback in the form of more vulnerable skin, and getting worse and worse again. And this makes you vulnerable to infection and complications. Then now you move on to third stage. In the third stage, infection, complications, and other factors are added to the skin weakened by the second stage, growing the disease is much worse, and it explodes. In particular, if you are in tiredness, weakened immunity, poor hygiene, or have severe allergies, it's like pouring oil into this explosion. So it explodes even more. So, like this, it is very difficult to see the whole picture at once, because these skin diseases are composed of 3 stages and various factors affect them. So until now, it was difficult to find correct answer, and people were only in fragmentary parts like touching an elephant's leg. For example, you take some rest after tiredness with desultory life pattern to see the disease going down, and you think, oh, I got sick because of my desultory life pattern. I'm gonna be okay if I fix this. But no, that's just your illusion. That's just some of the factors in third stage. That is to say, no matter how much the second stage and third stages are solved, without removing the first cause, the fundamental cure is not possible. So, metaphorically speaking, things like blood sugar and blood clots, which are the first causes, are like fuel to set fire. For example, imagine pouring oil near dry firewood. However, pouring oil doesn't necessarily set fire, but once it starts to ignite, it is difficult to put it out. Then you put it out with symptomatic therapy such as applying steroid ointments or antihistamine. But what of it? The fuel is being supplied to keep the fire burning, as in the first stage. And even if the fire goes out because the fuel supply is cut off, the firewood itself is already destroyed, as in the second stage. So once you get in the second stage, recovery is difficult and takes much time. Besides, you are confused without knowing that the fuel is the first cause. In other words, without fuel and fire, it is itself vulnerable. This is what second stage is. And let's imagine the wind blows so that the fire burns even bigger. This is what the third stage is. And when I think about it now, It seems that I was lucky to discover the causes of this disease. Because at the time of Eureka, my disease was serious but not too serious compared to other really serious people. So the effect of carbohydrate intake was rather noticeable, like I was in kind of Goldilocks zone. If the disease was too severe or too weak, I wouldn't figure out. So it seems that it took more than 10 years to get into the Goldilocks zone. So far, I've explained the causes and mechanism of these diseases. In the next video, finally, I'll tell you the cure. If you have any questions, visit my blog or email me below. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.